And it's Norman's birthday. Yes. See, it's 3 birthdays today. It's like Norman, Winona. Yeah, doing well. Doing well. Yeah, it was good. It's good to be back though. So good to be in our own space. Living out of a suitcase is only fun for so long. So, but we want to keep Vincent in our prayers as well. Are there any updates on him? Like what is he in the hospital? Is he going to? He's just having poor health. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we definitely want to keep Vincent and Miss Norman in our prayers. Thankful for good news from Miss Maureen. So glad she's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So yeah, yeah. So it's good to see her. Got some more folks coming in. So hold on. Good morning. It's good to see everyone. All right. Let's open up with a word. Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for blessing us and keeping us safe. Many people have remembered, dear Lord, who are traveling. Please be with them and keep them safe. Bring them back to us, dear Lord, as it is your will. With many who are sick, who are in the hospital, or who are struggling with health issues or with pain management, pray that you will care for them, dear Lord. Please provide them with comfort. Pray for the people who take care of them, the doctors and the nurses and the surgeons. Pray that they will prescribe the right treatment so that they can be healed and on their way and come back to us as well, dear Lord. Pray for Brother Charles specifically. I know that he's been struggling for several months. Pray that you will continue to be with him, dear Lord, and strengthen his body so that he can overcome the problems that he's having. Thankful for answered prayers from Miss Maureen. Pray that you'll continue to strengthen her and pray that she will continue to improve. Pray for Vincent, Miss Norman's husband. Pray that you will strengthen his body as well, dear Lord. Please heal him and pray that he will have a tender heart and be receptive to the truth. We're so thankful for all that you do for us. We're so incredibly blessed in this country. And pray that we will be a people of gratitude. Pray that we will channel that gratitude into our behavior and our willingness to give to others. We love you. Please bless our study this morning. In Jesus' name, amen. James chapter 5. James chapter 5. We are moving right along with our study in the book of James. If all goes well, we're going to be in James 5 verses 1 through 6 again this morning. I may finish this section up. It depends on how that goes. But we are very, very close to the end of the book. Who knows where we're going to go after for James? I haven't picked a new book for us to cover yet. So if you have any ideas that Joe has not covered recently or James hasn't covered on Wednesday nights, isn't covering on Wednesday nights, then let me know and we can do that. If you want to do something from the Old Testament, if you want to go back to the Minor Prophets or whatever you'd like to study, we can explore other avenues. So, James chapter 5. James chapter 5. We mentioned this the last time we were together, but we didn't get too deeply into it. So let's go back and kind of revisit verses 1 through 6. James 5 verses 1 through 6. Would someone read that, please? Okay. So we can divide verses 1 through 11, James 5, 1 through 11, into two sections. The major heading for these 11 verses, is that the faithful Christian exhibits endurance and patience when facing injustice. The true Christian exhibits endurance and patience when facing injustice. Verses 1 through 6, we have condemnation for the corrupt. Condemnation for the corrupt. Verses 1 through 6. And then verses 7 through 11, we have encouragement for the faithful. Encouragement for the faithful. So, kind of critiquing or correcting those who are committing the immorality, and then encouraging the people who are being taken advantage of, as it were. So this morning we're going to be in verses 1 through 6, condemnation for the corrupt. Condemnation for the corrupt. Verses 1 through 3, the first part of verse 3 there, we have woe and misery proclaimed. Woe and misery proclaimed. So come down, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. So something bad is about to happen. Your riches have rotted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you, and will eat your flesh like fire, your laid-up treasure in the last days. And so verses 1 through 3, we kind of get this impression that there's this impending doom, or like something coming that is not going to be good for them, as it were. And you see that verse 3, it says the last days. Verse 5, it says a day of slaughter. Verse 8, it says the coming of the Lord is at hand. Verse 9, the judge is standing at the door. We'll cover those last two in maybe next week. The condemnation for the corrupt. Something bad is coming. More than likely, this book was penned before the destruction of Jerusalem. And so with that in mind, it makes sense that the destruction of Jerusalem is approaching. And if you have, accumulated all of your wealth, all of your riches, and lo and behold, there's about to be some major tragedy, some major, destruction, where in the area around where you live, then the things that you've stored up for yourself, they're going to be destroyed. A lot of the resources that people had were tied into their land, were tied into their agriculture and things. If that's taken away, well, then all of a sudden you're not wealthy anymore. You're not rich, right? Here. Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Right. Sure. Yeah. Going back up to verses 1 through 3 here, notice verse 2. Your riches have rotted. What other versions are there? They're corrupted. Okay, what else? Rotted, corrupted. Any other versions? Moth-eaten. Okay, so that's at the end of verse 2 there. So we have corruption, we have rotting, we have moth-eaten, corroded. In verse 3, your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you, will eat your flesh like fire. Is there a passage in the New Testament that those ideas remind you of? Any passage that comes to mind? It's in the Sermon on the Mount. Go to Matthew 6. Go to Matthew 6. Jesus uses very similar language in verses 19 to 21 in Matthew 6. Someone who hasn't read this morning, please read Matthew 6, 19 through 21. Okay. The previous section in the book of James that we talked about is Jesus is Lord over tomorrow. And in that section, we talked about how fragile life is, how uncertain it is, how we need to live each day, keeping in mind that we need to be redeeming the time, that we need to be careful in understanding that life is not guaranteed, that tomorrow is not guaranteed, right? So in the same sense, if I hedge my bets and I place all of my money, place all of my resources and my focus on the things of this life, they can be taken away so quickly, right? You can get a letter in the mail, you can get a phone call, you can get an email that completely changes your financial situation, right? You do your taxes the wrong way, and trust me, the IRS is going to come calling, right? All of a sudden, well, I'm not doing quite as well as I thought I was, right? In the same way, I can be healthy as a horse, never have any health issues, and then all of a sudden, that can change. You go down a flight of steps the wrong way, and your life can be different. I'm a baseball fan, and one of our pitchers for the Red Sox, he threw a pitch. The guy hit it, and the pitcher ran to first base to make a play. Dobbins, the pitcher, he reached out his foot the wrong way to step on the bag and tore his ACL. Not even during a pitch. He was running to make a play. And in one moment, moving your foot the wrong way, and now he's out for the season. His season's over because he's going to have ACL surgery. And that's just an analogy of how easy it is for things to change, for our situation to be different. That applies to our finances. That applies to how we live our lives. And specifically in this case, if I place my identity and all of my time and all of my focus in the things of this world, I need to understand that those things can change very, very quickly. I place my identity in my career. If Chuck, I'm going to pick on you. If Chuck, I love being a truck driver. It's the best thing in the world. I love driving trucks. Something happens that he can't drive a truck anymore. All of a sudden, it's like, well, now what do I do? If I've wrapped up my identity in what I do, and I'm not able to do oceanography anymore. That's not an option that's available to me. Well, now I got to start over, right? And so the point of Matthew 6, the point of James 5, is like, it's okay to have things. It's okay to have a career. It's okay to enjoy your life. But be careful, because if you place your emphasis in the wrong things and the things of this world, those things are temporary. They're transient. They can be eaten by moths. They can be corroded. They can be lost. They can be stolen. Life is but a vapor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there's a double application in that context there, because the rich man in that case was a fool because he didn't know that he was going to die, but also he was a fool because he had all of these riches and he hoarded them for himself. And in fact, let's go ahead and this is a good segue here. Let's go ahead and think about the fact that prosperity is not sinful. Okay? Prosperity is not sinful. Several months ago, we talked about the prosperity gospel, which is this idea that if you serve God, God's going to bless you. You're going to get rich, you're going to have the Corvette, everything's going to go well in your life, and that's a sign of God's favor towards you. It's not the way it works, right? But on the flip side of that, we can't go to the opposite extreme and kind of turn up our nose at people who are wealthy. It's like, oh, well, they're carnal. God somehow condemns that wealth. It's neither extreme, right? So God isn't going to necessarily make you wealthy because you're faithful, but at the same time, God is not somehow opposed to us being wealthy. And the proof in the pudding here is the fact that in this country, specifically in this county, in this state, the distance between us and the national average of income is astounding. It's astounding. Even if we are above the poverty line in this country, compared to the rest of the world, we're still filthy rich. So if you've got enough money to have air conditioning in your home, and you've got a car that runs, and you've got food in your belly, we're doing okay. We're doing okay, right? And so prosperity, I think it's easy whenever we talk about prosperity or wealth. It's always someone who has more than us, right? it's difficult to think of ourselves as being wealthy or prosperous, but the reality is that we're the rich people here, right? You go to James 1, James has a warning for the rich. You go to James 2, James has a warning for the rich. You go to James 5, James has a warning for the rich. All three times the rich are mentioned in the book of James, it's in a negative context. But the point is not that they're immoral or bad because they're rich. That's not what James is getting at here. It's their behavior. It's their approach, it's their attitude toward their riches or their wealth that James is condemning here. So go to 1 Timothy 6. While we're turning there here. Sure. Yeah, someone who hasn't read today, read 1 Timothy 6 through 10, please. 1 Timothy 6 through 10. You're doing such a good job. Will you get verses 17 through 19 as well? Okay. So if you want to make the point from Scripture that prosperity is not sinful, this is the passage you go to, right? Because there's so many points that we can draw from these few verses. Thank you for reading them. Point number one that we'll make, and this kind of leaves 1 Timothy for a moment, but God bless people with wealth. God bless people with wealth. And I mean, that's about as straightforward as an argument as you can get. If someone is going to say that it's wrong to be rich and that there's immorality attached to being wealthy, you're going to have a problem with several people in the Old Testament because God directly blessed people with riches, right? You go to Isaac, Genesis 26, God made him rich. You go to Solomon in 2 Chronicles 11, God made him rich. And so you can't make that argument because God is out blessing people financially. So there's that to consider. Go to Deuteronomy 8. Yes, sir. Sure. There you go. There you go. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, and someone get Deuteronomy. In fact, I'll go ahead and read that. Deuteronomy 8, 17 and 18. This is the retelling of the law. This is before they go into the land of Canaan. It's God speaking to the children of Israel. He says, "Beware lest you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth, that He may confirm His covenant that He swore to your fathers, as it is this day." And so the warning in verse 17 is, it's not don't be wealthy, it's when you get wealthy, be careful that you don't assume it was all me, right? It's like, whoo, I'm doing okay. You know, I've made some good choices, and I've set myself up for a life of ease, right? That's exactly what the rich fool said. You know, look at my crops. Look at all the things that I've gotten for myself. And you kind of tie in Deuteronomy 8 here, and it's as though God is standing, off to a corner saying, wait a second, I'm the one that blessed him with those crops, right? I'm the one that enabled him to make that money and to be prosperous. And so there's that warning there. Be careful. Don't let your wealth become a distraction for you. So God blessed people with wealth. He blessed the children of Israel with wealth. Verse 18, going in Deuteronomy 8. Go back to 1 Timothy 6, and Norman read in verse 17 that God richly provides us with everything to enjoy. Right? So that last phrase there in verse 17. And so God blesses us. It doesn't mean that God is going to necessarily give me everything that I want. He at least gives me what I need. He at least gives me what I need. And if he adds anything else to that, then we're going to be grateful. But we're going to be content with food and clothing. That's the standard, right? That's what we're content with. And God has blessed each and every one of us far above food and clothing, right? I saw Gary, I saw John, I saw Norman, I saw John. Sure. 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 Yeah. John? Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That passage is Ecclesiastes 5 and verse 10. Ecclesiastes 5 and verse 10. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, for he who loves wealth with his income, this also is vanity. And I think that kind of plays into the fact that we never consider ourselves to be wealthy. Because the wealthy people are always the income bracket higher than us, right? I need to be satisfied. I need to be content. I have more than enough. I have more than I need. God has blessed me richly. Maybe not richly compared to my neighbor. He's got the 4-car garage and he's got all the fancy toys and things. I don't need that, right? Because we're laying up treasures from the world. We're placing our investments in the next time. Norman and then Jim. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a good reminder for us to talk about the people who are sick, not only so that we can pray for them, we know that prayer has power, but also as a reminder for us, as like, wait a second, I got up this morning, I'm not in any pain, my joints are moving pretty good, and I'm healthy, I'm not coughing, I don't have a cold. I mean, what do I have to complain about, right? And I mean, like, the kids are healthy, the wife is healthy, the car runs, and we woke up in a cool, comfortable apartment this morning, and I don't have problems. I don't have problems. So yeah, it's a good reminder for us to remember, especially those of our number who are struggling. Wait a second, I've got someone around me who could use my help, maybe, who could use my encouragement. And if I have all of these blessings that I'm maybe unintentionally hoarding for myself and I'm not sharing them, and it's not, and by the way, we can also kind of expand our definition a little bit. We're not just talking about writing a check to somebody. It can be my time, it can be my talent, it can be my treasure, is the alliteration that sometimes we use. Sometimes people just need our time, right? Just a phone call, just a text message, just a little word of encouragement. Hey, thinking about you today, hope you have a good day, praying for you. That can move someone's day in the right direction, right? Doesn't take a lot of time, but if I'm hoarding all of my resources for myself, all of my time and my attention and my energy, it's not good. It's the same situation that we see in James chapter 5, right? It's just in that case, it happened to be their money that they were refusing to share, that they were refusing to give to us. So yeah, good point. Jim? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and that's good because I mean, for me, it's so easy to think about the next upgrade, right? Always the next horizon. You know, it's like, man, we got to get out of this Corolla, man. Like, it runs, it's a good car, but the four people in that little car, like, you should see us on road trips. We look like Sanford and Son some of these days. Like the clamp that's going up I-95, right? I thought y'all would appreciate that's before my time, right? Um, oh man, you know, we gotta get a 2-bedroom apartment. We gotta get a 3-bedroom apartment. We gotta upgrade. Okay, maybe. And it's not, again, it's not bad to upgrade your car. It's not bad to upgrade your apartment or your house or your living arrangement or whatever it is. But when it's incessant, because as soon as we get that car, it's like, man, you know, those new leather seats, right? You know, it's like some of them, they don't even have the warming. They also have like the cooling, like in the cushions. It's really nice, right? Always an upgrade. Always something else that we need or we want. And we forget, it's like, well, wait a second. Let's scale back and let's remember, food and clothing is the standard. I got clothes on my back, I got food in my belly. That's the standard, right? And so, once I understand that those are the basic necessities that God guarantees me, it's so much easier to be thankful. Like, wait a second, I got a car that runs. And that we have not had a minute worth of issues with that Corolla. That is a good vehicle. Those things are trustworthy and reliable, right? The apartment, it's nice. It's on the first floor, so it doesn't get a lot of sun during the day, so the utility bills are pretty good. Gratitude. Gratitude. Right? We have so much. We have an embarrassment of riches, as maybe we could say. Yeah. Yeah. That's what you said after Pakistan. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and when it comes to talents, I know that the parable of the talents isn't actually referring to talents, it's talking about money, but it applies to our talents, right? When it comes to song leading, I'm a one-talent man. I can do it, I can do just enough to get by, but it's not going to be pretty. Norman is the five-talent man, right? And so we each bring things to the table that maybe someone else doesn't have, that someone else doesn't do well. You want an encourager. My wife does a great job. She can make you feel great about yourself. You know, she's an encourager. She's great at that. I got to work on that. Right? I'm still working. I'm still improving on that. And so, I guess what we're kind of building up to here is find the intersection of what you're good at and what people in the church can use, and focus on that. Right? You know, it might be writing people cards. It might be sending people text messages. It might be using the equipment that you have or the truck that you have to help people move when they need to move. Something as simple as our resources, right? And so, yeah, go ahead. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So God bless people with wealth, still under this idea that prosperity is not sinful. God bless people with wealth. Number two, God describes specific wealthy people as being morally good. So you look at Job chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. He was an upright man. He was a moral man. He followed God. He loved God. And he was wealthy. Like he was I think verse 3 says that he was the greatest in his region, the greatest in the east, right? He had a lot of resources. And God gave him his stamp of approval and said, that's a good man, right? Same thing with Joseph of Arimathea, Matthew 27. Same thing with Cornelius, Acts chapter 10. So God, regardless of the amount of resources I have, God can look at me and say, that's a good person. You know, they want to do what's right. They kind of get the stamp of approval, as it were. Number three, the big point is this. Wealth is not the problem. It's my attitude toward it. It's my attitude toward it. Like has already been mentioned, you know, wealth can be a distraction. I can get so wrapped up in the things of this world. I can get so wrapped up in my career or in my money or, you know, in taking care of my house or, you know, I can get so wrapped up in the daily minutia that I forget to plan for tomorrow, and specifically the eternal tomorrow. You know? So it can distract us. Like John pointed out, Ecclesiastes 5, verse 10, the more money I have, the more money I want. And so we can focus more on contentment. Number two, wealth can warp my priorities, and it can promote selfishness. It can warp my priorities, and it can promote selfishness. Not that it necessarily will, but it has that potential. I'm sure we all know of people who were had a particular income bracket, and then they get a fat check in the mail. They get a healthy raise. They get some money, and 6 months later, they're not the same person anymore, right? Because money has the potential to bring things out in us that are not necessarily good. They enable us to be more of who we truly are, right? And so if we think, if I had money, if I had a couple more zeros in my checking account, I'd be a generous person. I'd really help people. But I'm not generous with what I have right now. No, I don't think you would be generous if you had more money. Because I'm not being generous. And so the chances of me being generous when all of a sudden I have more money, it's not likely. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and it can promote selfishness because when I get wrapped up in, well, I have this amount of money, but I want to double that. I want more money. I want more security. I want more stuff. I want more things. I want a bigger house. When all of a sudden we have the means and we still have that desire for the continuous number of upgrades, all of a sudden I don't have any money to give because I'm so wrapped up in myself. And so, kind of the big point, we'll take a couple more comments and we'll conclude here. Money is good if it's used the right way, right? And so I have resources. Maybe I don't have money in the bank, but maybe I've got a talent that I can use. Maybe I've got some time. I don't even know how many cards from Miss Jenny hanging on our fridge that she made. Miss Jenny's an encourager too. We have so many people in this congregation who are just good encouragers. And that's a talent. That is a talent that I'm still working on, right? If you have time, if you have talent, if you have treasure, how can I use those things to help other people, to pour into other people, and to show God that I'm a good steward over the things that I have? And when God sees that, then maybe He can say, okay, well, I can trust them with more because they're generous now. If I give them more, I bet they're going to be generous with that too, right? To show God that we're trustworthy, and then He can bless us with more if He so chooses to. Jim, and then I think, was it John? Did you have something else? Okay, so Jim and then John. Yep. Thank you. What do Miss Y call that? Is that abominism? Did you call it abominism? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. When the chasing, I think when the chasing steps in, that's when it becomes a problem. When that becomes my priority and my focus rather um, than my opportunity to be generous and help other people. And we'll close with this. We've got 2 or 3 minutes. Um, Generosity needs wisdom, right? And so James is not pushing, and then we are not pushing this idea that if you have money, you need to start writing checks. There is wisdom in our generosity, right? Um, um, just because someone asks us for money doesn't mean it's necessarily wise to give them that money, right? Is it a good cause? Is it something that can have spiritual benefit? Is this person genuinely in need? Are they capable of supporting themselves? These are the questions that we can ask that will help us hopefully make the right decision. So, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Carrying a grudge or bonus. Right. Yeah. One final passage and we'll conclude. I found this passage this morning. I had forgotten about it. I'm sure I've hopefully read it at some point. But Proverbs 3. Proverbs 3, verses 9 and 10. Proverbs 3, 9 and 10. ESV, the translation says, honor the Lord with your wealth. Honor the Lord with your wealth, and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. Honor the Lord with your wealth, right? Whatever I have, whatever resources I have, whatever talents I have, whatever time I have, how can I use that to honor God, to seek first the kingdom, to pour into other people, to help other people be right with God? Proverbs 3, 9 and 10. Yes. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all of your produce. Thank you very much. What verse did we close with?